And a happy Friday to you. New man on the block this morning, the professor, Michael Powell.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for being in the house. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mike's going to be joining me on Friday mornings, and appreciate him being
Friday
there.
mornings and every other morning is free. Suddenly, I'm not
Mr. Retirement.
Mr. Retirement. Yeah. I'm glad to do it.
Yeah.
Enjoy the Saturday mornings. And,
Yep.
Just add this to it occasionally.
Yep.
And,
That works.
I'm good.
Whenever you're free, it's here. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
High school football, the topic for today. Last week we kicked off. There were a few schools didn't. One of the schools that I do some broadcasts for, Mooresville, did not get to play. From what I understand and talked with Coach Nixon yesterday, I think that was a Davie County issue and not a Mooresville issue because they're going at it tonight against Huff. They'll open up at home against Huff High School, a former conference opponent, no longer a conference opponent.
Right.
At Joe Pop Stadium down in Mooresville. Great place to do ball games, great facility. Gonna be warm as the weekend goes through as well. We're talking about heat index Saturday, Sunday, Monday, maybe well over 100. So
it's been withering all week.
Yes, yes, it has.
We're just in that phase, and
my hero Vaughn Burgess is on with us. Good morning, Vaughn. Kenny, good morning.
Vaughn Burgess, wow.
Yeah, that's impressive. You get Vaughn in the house.
Vaughn.
Yeah, it means he's not working today.
He's Vonda's brother. Right?
That's correct.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Former quarterback for the Rebels. Yep.
Former quarterback for the Rebels.
Yep.
Vonda was an outstanding softball player.
Mm-hmm. And now she's AD at the middle school.
I did not know
West
she
Lincoln
was
Middle
AD.
School.
That's great.
Sure is, yeah.
Had a son who played pretty good Legion baseball player this summer for Post 100.
And if I'm not mistaken, her son has went on and he's at state playing some football, I think. I believe I saw that. I think I saw that. Yeah. I believe that's right. Love you, Vaughn. You're my hero, buddy.
Yes,
Derek
sir.
Lawn, good morning. All right, we got games coming up tonight. We do a little pick 'em here with the crowd inside.
The boys.
And I'm in dead last place, but we've only had a week.
Guess who's in first?
The professor.
Yes.
You get points for a win. You get an extra point on our game that you pick the winner, but you pick the score, and the closest score, you get an extra point for that. And I think you get an extra point if you're the only person that picked the winner.
I think that's right.
I believe that's right. I think that's the rules. So
rules according to David Keefe.
That's correct. He is the administrator.
Yes, he is.
After week one, Michael Powell's in first, Brett Keever in second at 8. Mike's at 9. Brett's at 8. David, Jason Barber, Terry Reinhardt, Juju, and Rick Mitchum are at 7, and I'm in the hole at 6. I took a flyer on
Did you take a flyer?
I took a flyer just in case, pull an upset, and that kind of gets you out there to start with a little lead.
It does.
But this week we got North Lincoln at Lincolnton. Everybody that's our score game. It's amazing how close the scores are. Nobody picked more than 28.
I know.
And the majority of the picks are 7-14. Morning, Milton. North Lincoln was the overwhelming favorite in this one. North Lincoln over Lincoln. Rick Mitchum went out and picked
the trot.
He picked the Wolves on the sleeper. And then
now that's going out a little bit on a limb in my view.
I don't think they're quite there, but they'll pick up a few games. But I just don't think they're quite there. East Lincoln Forest View, solid slate. The Mustangs from East Lincoln. West Lincoln Cherryville, solid slate. West Lincoln.
Now, one thing about that East Lincoln Forest View game, Lanny, Forest View played Burns to an 8-6 game. I don't know what that means.
But you don't know whether to say more about Burns or Forest View.
That's what I'm saying. This I can't really figure out what that means. East Lincoln was very impressive against Highbright, and they're now 9-0 all time against.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
David gave me that stat last week, and it must have been when East was remember when they were in that conference with West Caldwell and Lincoln?
Mm-hmm.
And Highbright must have been terrible.
Because the other place they would have met up would have been in playoffs.
Yeah. But they were in a conference. Mm-hmm. Highbrighton was in it, and they weren't very good then. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Highbrighton we've seen in the last 10, 15
High
years.
Brighton was right behind Fred T. Ford with the state's
Yeah.
longest losing streak, up in the 50s at one time.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
they haven't always been a solid
No.
football program. I mean, they struggled.
Chuck Cannon's the one that turned that program around, former High Brighton player.
Right.
And he was gracious enough during the great days to give me a game when I was at Highland, and it was quite an experience for my young men, but it was a game.
I bet it was. You should write a book about my year at
2 years
2 years at Highland Technical Institute
of technology.
of Technology.
Yeah. Cabe Mackey, good morning. Cabe said the East and Forest View is neutral site at
What?
Stuart Kramer. Forest View's got stadium issues, and I don't know what those are.
I don't know, Lenny.
We talked
because
about that. Y'all talked about last Saturday.
I covered Forest View twice in the spring for the Gazette, and both games were at Stuart Kramer. They must have a
Remember what
Major-
happened at Cherryville?
yeah.
All of a sudden, you come in and need to do a little repair work, and they're like, wait, we can't repair this. You got to tear it down.
Tear it down.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the deal is with Forest View's stadium, the grass, the turf, but apparently it's not fixed. So yeah, I
And if
guess
Kramer can take them, that's the only turf field
it's the only
in Gaston
turf
County.
field.
So if they're away, I guess that's where they'll play. Kerry Edwards, good morning. Then comes the biggest split of the day, and that is Watauga Maiden. Michael Powell, Brett Keever, Jason Barber, Terry Reinhardt. Oh, I see Keever put TR twice. One of them TRs is supposed to be mine. I did
that's
pick
what he
against.
did.
I did pick against the homestanding Blue Devils.
Now does that get you in trouble with Kim and others?
I call them the way I see them.
Okay.
I call them the way I
right.
see them.
All right.
David
wanna cause any
Keever,
trouble in the
David
household.
Keever, Rick Mitchum, and Juju picked Maiden. I learned a long time ago when I used to put a little money on the line that you better bet with your head and not your heart,
Oh yeah.
because that can get you in trouble. And so I take this serious.
Yeah.
And Maiden is good. There's no doubt about it. I expect them to win the conference. However, Watauga's just huge.
Yeah.
And they're just solid, and they're simple, and they're bigger.
Yep.
And I just think, it's hard to scheme and win against size and speed because you can't coach it, you can't scheme it. And I think that's where the wear down will come from. Now, I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but that's why I made the pick the way that I did.
Well,
now you
just-
did too.
I looked at Watauga's game last week, looked at their stats. I figure you said bigger, definitely probably more depth than Maiden. I don't know, but I'm just going to go with the ground and pound, the more physically imposing team. Maiden has probably got speed, certainly at the wideouts and so forth. It is at Maiden, but is that an edge for the Blue Devils
Not
anymore?
the way it used to be. Even the Maiden faithful will tell you that.
I remember Lincoln and retired coach Scott Cloninger always said that when you had to play at the old Tom Brown Stadium,
That was a
was
touchdown.
7 points.
That was a touchdown.
That was a touchdown.
That's correct. And you could almost give 7 to Tom too.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a double whammy right
Yeah,
there.
That was tough.
Yeah.
And they didn't lose often there.
So, but I went, just a realistic look, and like I say, I think Maiden's going to do fantastic this
In
year.
the conference.
Yep, in the conference. Bandies and Ford across the board. Everybody's on board with Bandies in that game.
Well, what do we make from that debacle that Ford had? What was it, 55? The score was outrageous. I mean, is Ford just shorthanded this season? Did they have a low turnout? Or
I have no idea. I haven't talked to anyone. Don't know what's going on. Again, that's a program that for so many years struggled.
Yeah.
When I was a junior in high school, in the season of 1976, 76, 77, we went 0-10. Fred T. Ford was on the state's longest losing
I
streak.
remember that.
And
in the
all
50s.
we wanted was for them to beat somebody before they played us because we probably couldn't beat them. We were very short-handed. We'd had some kids to quit.
Right.
And they broke the streak on Bunker Hill, but picked up their second win of the season against us. But it was not broken on us. So
It's a good thing.
yeah. So
0-10, huh?
Yep, 0-10. Went 5-5 next year.
I don't remember West Lincoln ever going 0-10, but no, that was a little bit before my time when you were playing.
When I was a sophomore, we went 3-6-1 my sophomore year, if I'm not mistaken, and I think the tie was against South Iredell, if I'm not mistaken. And then my senior year went 5-5. If we could have pulled a win out last game of the season against the Ironman, we could have finished 6-4.
That's not bad.
Hardest
at all.
I've ever been hit in my life, all levels.
Really?
The hardest I've ever been hit was in the Cherryville High School
Are
game.
you serious? You played fullback too, didn't you?
Yeah, not that year. I was just a lineman. But do you know who hit me harder than I've ever been hit? And it was on because he was on the kickoff team. I was one of the 4 upbacks, second layer.
Mm-hmm.
Hardest I've ever been hit
In any level.
that I can remember.
Who was it?
James Devine.
James Devine. Well,
He never let up.
Yeah,
I hated kickoff return team because you're back there catching.
James was tough.
You're catching.
Yeah.
James, good friend. Very good friend.
And
John
now an
Devine's
attorney,
brother.
right?
I don't know.
Yeah. Last I heard.
Okay. Jeremy Williams, good morning. Stephen, good morning. Glad to have you guys. Newton Conover, West Iredell. The majority went Newton Conover. Keever, Powell, Brett, Rick, me, Juju. Jason Barber, Terry Reinhardt went West Iredell. West Iredell, Newton's not as good as I think we had expected, but West Iredell's just they're not very good every year.
No. And they got drilled by, what was it, Lake Norman?
Yes, Lake Norman High School, and they are pretty tough.
That's a 4A school. Newton didn't look that good against, was it Polk County?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Polk County's
always good.
So I don't know. I just think Newton Conover finds a way to get back on the track on this one. That's why I did.
Jason Barber took a flyer on St. Stephen's. I don't think they can beat Bunker Hill.
No.
Everybody else on board for the Bears. Another one of
Did
my
Jason see that
stops alone.
score from St. Stephen's?
Obviously not.
Last week? Yeah.
And then here's the one that I really couldn't figure out what to do. Creston Burns, that's a Cleveland County neighborhood rivalry.
It is.
Juju and I went Burns. Crest was picked by the other fellows. Crest, I don't think will be able to have any home games this year. They've got a sinkhole problem going on in the field, if I understand correctly.
That's bad luck, isn't it? That's just
and you know, they had a game with Pisgah. And then Pisgah got flooded out. Crest could not play on their home field. Did they play last
week? They
week?
Didn't play.
They did not play. So that was a little bit.
Factor.
That was a little factor for me with Burns. They at least got one under their belt.
They have not played. Yeah, Burns has played, and they're also at home at Lawndale. But I think Crest just may have a little bit better, superior talent and depth. But that county game. That's going to be a good one.
You throw everything out, though, in the rivalry games.
Yep.
South Iredell and Statesville. You and Terry Reinhardt went South Iredell.
I guess we went against the majority there.
And that's at South Iredell. That's at Statesville and Greyhound Holler.
Yeah, Greyhound Holler. I know it's a tough place to win, but I just think South Iredale's got a pretty good ball club.
Joe just said that the sinkhole was fixed.
Okay.
It was on the sideline.
Oh.
Not having home games the first few weeks helps. So,
but they will.
Thanks for the update, Joe.
Okay, so they
will be able to play.
Be able to play. Yeah. Good.
I wasn't exactly sure what it was. I knew there was a sinkhole in the field. That's the only thing that I really knew.
On the sideline.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I went Statesville on that one. South Iredell's not as strong as they were. I can't remember the coach that was up there. They had a pretty good little run there.
They did.
At South Iredell.
Both teams had impressive first week wins. I don't know what we make out of that. But yeah, I don't know why I went with South Iredell. I just think
it'll start separating itself through here.
Yeah.
And then we all picked Freedom against East Burke. East Burke still struggling. The little bit of success that they had was when Tom was there.
Yeah,
but Freedom, I think, is going to be the superior program.
Now, Freedom hasn't played either.
Yeah, but Freedom's still pretty tough.
Yeah, Freedom is still
a lot of stability there. But we'll update you on winners and losers in the morning if you'll listen to the show, and then we'll do it on Monday too.
I think there's a couple games there that, you mentioned Newton Conover, West Iredell, Crest, Burns. I mean, there's some intangibles there, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I think everybody will end up with a winning record this week, but I mean, I don't think we're going to have any,
No,
4 and 6s or anything.
I agree. I don't think that's going to happen as well. Let me take our first time out, and then we'll come back. We'll got an update from the meeting that was held yesterday with the Education Committee and some comments on the amended bill seeking High School Athletic Association reform. That's a topic for today. We'll do that next here on The Bottom Line.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com.
Times convenience stores are more than convenient. They're your neighborhood store, your store. With locations in Lincoln, Catawba, Gaston, Iredell, and Mecklenburg counties, there's one near you. Times convenience stores have the right items at the right price, from snacks, cold drinks, and light meals from the grill, and there's always a special to save you time and money. Times has what you need. Times convenience stores, there's one near you. Regardless of where you're going, there's one on your way. Remember, there's always time to stop by Times. Have you thought about when you would like to retire? One of your major assets is planning for retirement is time, and you lose a little of it each day. The longer you wait to start accumulating capital for retirement, the harder it's going to be. How should you plan for retirement? Start by calculating approximately how much capital you will need at retirement, then estimate how much you will have to put away each year. Finally, carefully choose the investments in which you will invest. Stifel Nicholas can assist you. Call Ford Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange.
First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
In the best of times, no one is more deserving of every opportunity, encouragement, and support than the youth in our communities. Parents, teachers, coaches, and sponsors struggle to stretch their budgets to continue help. Communities need a team effort. Times Oil Corporation, a longtime member of the community, established the Times Educational Alliance Mission, or Team Foundation. Since 2011, over $125,000 in grants have been donated in the community. Times Oil and the Team Foundation are proud to be community partners.
And welcome back. I'm glad to have you in the house. Before we jump back into sports, we'll take a little sidetrack here. the passing of Charlie Watts.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been listening.
Got your tickets to the Stones.
I did, and the Stones tour will continue. The first tour the Stones have ever done without
That's
Charlie
correct.
Watts.
That is correct.
Not only that, Charlie Watts was the drummer on all 30 Rolling Stones albums. He's been there through it all from the beginning. So yeah, lost a member of one of rock and roll's iconic bands. The first one of the four.
And you think about it, of the the other three members inside that group, you've never read stories about Charlie.
No.
That you've read about Keith Richards.
For Charlie, it was a job.
Yes.
I mean, he was considered one of the best dressed men in England. I mean,
yes.
he was this dapper guy, and he just
not an over the top drummer, just solid.
Just solid. He had some little tricks of the trade that nobody else could emulate, but he was
always with a smile.
Always with a smile. He didn't engage in the same kind of rock and roll lifestyle that Mick and Keith and maybe a couple of the others did, but he was always there, and a sad day for rock and roll. But the Stones, I guess they're going to continue and mix the show, of course, and Keith, but it'll be a big loss, and the rock and roll world does mourn the loss of Charlie Watts.
Charlie Watts definitely will be missed. There are before we go, Athletic Association, Bob Duckworth. Thank you, sir, for passing this on.
Featured games.
Yeah, this is from that Simon's ratings.
Okay, the best games in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that was last week's results. I was trying to find, they've got the power rankings, and I was trying to find some of those. If 2A is probably what we do most. Adam Chase, Wayne Navy, good morning. Ronnie, good morning. Dave Willis, good morning. But if you look at the 2A rankings, and Bob said this is kind of based on how they finished in the spring, and that this will kind of work itself out as we get through it. No real surprise. Your top 5 teams, Reidsville, Shelby, Burns, Salisbury, Northeastern. Bob said Crest is a 5-point favorite, but you're talking about a top 10 2A team in the Burns Bulldogs, and Crest is yet to take the field.
Yeah.
That was kind of the deciding factor for me.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
Maiden is ranked 20, West Lincoln at 22. Polk County, we were talking about Polk County, they're ranked 25. Bunker Hill's 26. This one's a little surprising to me.
Lincoln?
East Gaston is 33.
Oh, East Gaston, the Warriors.
And that you hadn't seen that in a while. That's just all
I'll
say.
I can't remember right now who they played in their season opener, but they looked pretty good.
They played North Gaston.
That's right. And they beat it. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we took.
Well, North Gaston's really struggled. They've had coaching changes. So I don't know. I don't know about. I wish the Warriors well.
You're asking East Lincoln. They're ranked 13th in the 3A rankings, followed by South Point at 14, Kings Mountain at 16. That was the one that I lost. I was on a flyer last week, I think. I took Kings Mountain over Shelby. I don't pick against Shelby late in the season, but if it's a close game, I will pick early because they get better as the week goes on.
Yeah, and their MO has been they might lose a game or two early, but by November.
Yeah, you don't pick against the
But
Golden
that was
Lions.
a pretty easy win for Shelby over Kings Mountain.
I was a little surprised by that. Forest View at 23, Statesville at 24. This is one that's just a little hard to accept, seeing West Charlotte in the 3A ranks.
Yeah, it is.
They were in that conference with Mooresville last year in the 4A in that IMEC conference.
And I guess that's because student enrollment has gone down.
North Lincoln at 37, Ashbrook at 38, Hickory at 43.
Now, Ashbrook hasn't played yet either. There was a reason for that. I can't remember.
That I do not remember.
Yeah, they're 0-0. They were supposed to play.
It's so hard to keep up with it now. Or
yeah.
For me it is, I'll put it that way. And maybe that's just me. With games getting, postponed or canceled, and it's just hard to remember.
We already have a major thing to deal with because the Catawba County School District, not Caldwell County School District, said that none of their teams will be playing this Friday night. I don't know what will happen to those games. I don't think they'll be rescheduled. Do you? I mean, once in another week or so.
Well, like Mooresville and Davie County, they were fortunate. They both had an open week to 10th.
Okay.
So they moved it to the 10th. But if you don't have one, like Hickory picked up, help me here, Bob. Hickory picked up Charlotte Latin, I think, for tonight because they were supposed to play South Caldwell.
What? Okay.
I believe that's right. Okay. And they
were able to pick one up.
They picked up a game, yeah. Mm-hmm. We were talking about Watauga. Watauga is still 4A, and they're ranked 63rd. But they're still 4A.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. And if you look up in the top of the list, one of the surprises that I see is the University of Mallard Creek is all the way at 19.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate to see them.
Where's the University of Huff at?
I'll look down through here because that's who Mooresville's got tonight. Mm-hmm. Huff is number 4.
Now, you're not involved in it tonight.
Yeah.
You are?
Yes.
This is one of your nights.
Yep,
okay.
Yep. I was supposed to do board, and the play-by-play guy had a conflict, so I'll step in and do the play-by-play.
It's going to be a long day for you.
Fridays are really long.
Oh, Fridays are tough.
Bob Duckworth said Latin is a 14-point favorite.
Yeah,
he said he thinks it's more, but glad they got the game. I was fortunate when I was at Highland. I was able to schedule some of those private schools. I played Christian. I played Country Days B squad.
Okay.
When we were just JVs, played them on Saturday morning, which was a mistake. I didn't have one kid that wanted to tee it up at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, I can assure you.
That's tough.
Yeah, that was.
How are you going to get a teenager motivated on Saturday morning?
No, you're not. I'll go ahead and tell you, you're not. Let's see what else I got. I was going to go to the High School Athletic Association. There was an update. This came down yesterday.
You'll have to fill me in on that one. Okay.
What they did is they amended the bill, House Bill 91. They amended the bill to allow the North Carolina High School Athletic Association to continue with some oversight and some changes. Now, the
financial oversight.
That's a part of it, but the things that they're wanting to do are things that need to be done. Now, I'll give you a couple of things, and I'll be open to comments. I promise. You can say whatever you want to, because the opinions expressed here are mine.
Right.
Are mine, just mine, and so don't tie them to anybody else. But this is what happened yesterday. The initial House Bill 91 was to dissolve the Athletic Association at the end of this year, but they've amended it, and the language of the bill allows the State Board of Education to designate a nonprofit organization to run high school athletics in North Carolina. And Vicki Sawyer, who's one of these, is pushing it, said there's been a lot of work that's been done in this bill since the last time we were before you. In this bill, we seek to reform, not destroy.
Okay.
That's the first thing that the Athletic Association needs to be thankful for, because they don't have control over these.
Go away.
That's correct.
They could have gone away under this bill.
The bill focus, the biggest focus, and this is, if there's anybody that disagrees with this, you've got a problem. Transparency.
Yeah, you got to have it. When you've got 41 million or whatever it is they have.
And we'll come to that. The association would not be able to adopt new rules without first posting the rule on the website, allowing for public comment. Why would you not want that input?
You want it, yeah.
Why would you want to hand down rules that only your little committee or your board has looked at? Yeah.
Well, now, historically, the State Association has had regional meetings where people can come and make input.
Not public comment.
But not public comment. Okay.
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 You are representing all these kids, right?
Yeah, you certainly are.
Okay. The association would also be required to adopt policy similar to open meeting laws and public record laws.
I'm for it.
And it would be required to undergo an annual audit from the state auditor. Mm-hmm. Anything there that bothers you?
Nothing. That's what most state agencies have to do, right?
The only time that they should be able to go into closed meetings. Personnel. And my understanding is there's only 15 employees at the association. So everything else should be open table.
It should be.
It is public schools you're representing.
It is.
Okay.
So there you go.
Okay.
I'm with you.
I'm just trying to.
I don't see anything
Okay.
I don't see anything really debatable.
Finances are the next big focus. The association would be allowed to charge reasonable fees, but the annual fees to schools would be reduced by 20% when the total fund balance reaches 250% or 2.5 times the amount of the previous year's expenses. Okay? Well, that gives you a 2.5 basically year cushion of money.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need to keep accumulating?
That's what I'm saying. That's what they've been doing.
Yes, and
Yeah,
I'll
think
get to that.
Yeah, if you have a couple, 2 or 3 years, you know you're going to be financially solvent and sound. That's all you need.
Also, the association would be required to retain no more than 1/3 of the net profits from any state tournament. Right now, when you get into playoffs, the state gets a bigger chunk every week.
Yeah, as it grows.
As it grows. That would change. They get 1/3, period. The school's got to have the money to operate.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if I've hit any nerves to anybody yet.
Not for me. I like all these proposals.
Okay. This is another one, and I got a little mixed feeling, but I'm completely okay with it, and that is legislation would prohibit the association from soliciting grant money and sponsorships outside of state tournament games, as well as from providing grants to schools, awarding scholarships where the funds are not donor-directed. Okay? I don't know that they need a $40 million endowment to fund what scholarships they got. And what you're talking about the what used to be the Wachovia Cup is now the Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo.
The legislature's saying, and if anybody should do it, it should be the legislatures should do it to get away from these lobby groups.
Mm-hmm.
Get these corporations out of this association. They're to administer rules and run the association to the benefit of the athletes and to the programs. That's what they do. That's what they do. Now, if Joe Jones says, I've been a strong supporter of the association in high school athletics, I would like to donate $2 million as an endowment for a scholarship to be given through the association, that's different.
Okay.
What the legislators are saying is we do not want the association soliciting funds for the purpose of funding scholarships and grants.
Okay.
Okay, that's one less headache. It's the way I look at it.
Yes.
One less thing they need to do. The association would not be allowed to retain any gate money from regular season games. What they're saying there, and the reason we don't have it today, no endowment game.
Right.
Because that's what it was. The state got half that gate, if I'm not mistaken.
What was the original purpose of the endowment game?
Nobody knows.
It's been around for 20 years.
It was supposed. Well, that's how we supposedly got this $40 million endowment.
Well, then I don't know. We need that.
I said before, of all the institutions and all the associations and schools we've got, the 400 and some member schools, if the association last year had said, okay, we're going to $20,000 per school, we're going to take it out of the rainy day fund, $20,000 school to help you get through the pandemic, that still would have been less than $8 million.
Yeah.
Or right around.
What did they do to help schools get through the pandemic?
If they did, I didn't see it. I didn't read about it.
I do recall Quinn Tucker mentioning that or pointing some stuff out, but I don't know what it was. I don't know the amount. They should have. That's what it's for, right? Rainy days. And believe me, we had them.
And it follows that by saying a practice that's already been discontinued, and that's because the state was questioning the endowment fund.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It would not be able to regulate the intellectual property of a school, including audio and visual rights. The state
translate that for me.
The state implemented a few years. The reason we never broadcast the first football game, they mandated that schools had to charge $150 minimum to allow you to do that.
Yeah.
And then they contract with groups to do games. NFHS, the National Federation of High Schools. Now, they can do it from a state tournament playoffs, championships. That's different because the state kind of owns that part of it, if that makes sense.
And they run the playoffs.
That's correct. That's correct. They want the schools to take care of the schools.
Right.
And that's the way it should be.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
The legislation also addresses classifications of schools. It would allow charter and non-public schools to continue participating, but they would be bumped up a classification, and all classifications would be determined based solely on enrollment. And it says 4 classifications would be used. Something the association membership has attempted to change in recent years as the number of member schools has grown. Now, my understanding is the reason we got away from the split in the playoffs, the bylaws did not provide for that.
No.
The bylaws are only for 4 classifications.
They
Somewhere, somebody has got to figure out how we amend those bylaws, and from what I've heard, it has to be raised from a board member. Well, if the association is going to be in charge in the fair play, association or somebody needs some way to make a move or make a motion or put something on the table to vote about to do the classifications.
What was the reason initially to go to the split in football only? And I'm surprised that some of the others.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'll show you.
I'm surprised. Oh,
I'll show you.
Money, of course.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right there.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
See anybody? That's why. That's why. Double the receipts.
Yeah, but I'm surprised some of the other sports and coaches and so forth involved in those other sports didn't cry foul. Well,
you tell me why football could need it.
Why can't basketball have split
and
baseball have split?
I said the same thing. We talked about this yesterday, and this was my idea. I think there needs to be 6 classifications.
Yeah.
And the bottom one and the top one would be smaller than the other 4 because you would take the extremes up there.
Extremes.
Because then when you split those other 4, 2A and 3A never needed to be subdivided because there were not enough discrepancy in the number of students.
No, it's a mild discrepancy.
Yes.
But you're right. On either end of the spectrum, we have some extremely small 1A schools in the state, probably less than 100 students. And we have some very large 4A schools that are busting at the seams at over 3,000. So I see your point there. With the 1A and the 6A would be the extremes, right?
Well, and now Butch gives a comment here, and I'm gonna address that. Butch said the 2 issues that concern me, we hadn't gotten to these yet, is the public comment part about rule changes. You will have many social media, uninformed, and personal-driven comments. Also, the State Board of Education appointed appeals committee to rules violations by politicians and their cronies. But that's what a lot of people are saying is going on now. That's what got all this started up, because everything was handled inside the association and nobody knew what was going on. If the association had been open and transparent from the beginning, I don't know that we would have had this problem.
Yeah, well,
the association has never addressed this. And correct me, Butch, if I'm wrong, because I don't know, okay? I think Q and the association have full control, kind of like Roger Goodell. We're charging you with this. You made this rules violation. Here's your punishment, and if you appeal it, I'm going to tell you you're wrong again because I get to do that.
I'm the final arbiter.
You've got the attorney, the judge, and the jury. And that's where the problem comes from. I don't want it to get into the politicians' hands any more than you do, Butch, because that's not really any better. I've said this before. The association is here with the pendulum. I need for it to swing in here, and if it goes legislation, it's going to go up here. You're going to have the same issues, but just different people running it. I agree. And that's why I'm hoping that this is a continuing process to make changes that are for the betterment of everybody.
Yeah, it seems like they're going to make changes. Transparency is going to be a key issue, but the politicians haven't taken over the association.
Not
they're
yet.
Not disbanding it. I mean, we're talking about reform.
And why should the Board of Education, the State Board of Education, not have some type of voice in what goes on with the sports that are sponsored by the state
Public
government.
schools. Yeah, I'm with you.
Todd said Swain and Murphy, both in Smoky Mountain Conference, have won state championships in 1A and 1AA in the same year multiple times since the split. That's because they pop back and forth.
Yep.
The committee is strongly suggesting remaining in 4 classifications. Somebody needs to explain that to me. When you've got a 1A school with 200 kids and a 1A school with 600 kids, or you've got a 4A school that's got 1,500 kids and a 4A school that's got 3,000 kids.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to explain what we're. If you look around, we're one of the few states that only has 4 classifications with over 400 high schools.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. I can do a little more digging
we got
on
many
it.
more
Joe
high
Glass, good
schools
morning.
in South Carolina than does, and
Yeah.
I don't know how many Virginia or Tennessee have surrounding states, but yeah, that's been the thing. We've grown so large. I remember when it was like 330, not that long ago, right? So with the creation of all these schools, the ranks have swelled to well over 400, and yeah.
Would you say
like
that high school athletics in North Carolina, from an administrative standpoint, has been very slow to react and change to the changing condition, environment, and atmosphere?
It seems so, because if the state association wants to be stuck on this 4 classification thing, well, that's what we've had forever, except for that split.
When
for
I was
football.
coaching over 20 years ago at the coaches conference before the subdivision, we wanted coaches discussed and made recommendations in the open meeting to go above 4.
Yep.
And the
it
fix
didn't get anywhere.
was subdivision.
Yeah.
That was the fix.
That was the fix. But that fix, going subdivision, wasn't fair to other sports.
And you didn't have a state champion.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like 6, and I like your idea of, that covers the extremes. I mean,
And that's who's
Myers
missing.
Park's going to have to play against a school that's got more than 2,000 students because they got 3,000 or whatever. And you're not seeing these the great.
I guess I want
imbalance
somebody to give me the basis on why 4. Give me the
rather than
logical,
6.
mathematical
Yeah.
fairness issue of why 4
Sure, they've
works.
done some data. I mean, sure, they got some research on that.
Well, at one time we did and somebody will have to help me here. We didn't have 25, 25, 25%. We did a different makeup somehow, but I don't remember what it was. Other bill changes to make high school athletics in North Carolina. It would prevent the High School Athletic Association from issuing fines for rules violations. I think everybody would be fine with fines if it were clear-cut and transparent so you knew what it was. And if this school got fined for this violation, this school gets fined for the same violation.
Yeah,
I think that's where the rub has come.
I don't have a problem with. Well, you got to have some kind of punitive result. I mean, you got to have some punishment for
That's correct.
violations. If you don't, then
The problem is, in my eyes, it's not the fines; it's the way they're administered and knowing where everything's coming from and why it's being done.
And the fact that the
Going back to the open meeting laws, the transparency.
and that the fines are doled out equally for equal punishment for equal.
It would
crime.
create an independent appeals process utilizing a panel appointed by the State Board of Education. Now, I understand your rub there, and I'm okay, but how else are you going to do it? Are you going to tell me that inside the association, like with any organization, there are not relationships? I don't care where it is. I don't care what it is. There are relationships, and you build those relationships.
That's organization.
Whether it's politically based or it's inside the association. There would be a mechanism in place for schools to report intimidation or harassment of participating schools by the association to the State Board of Education. That is, if a school feels like it's being treated unfairly, you've got somewhere to go. Right now, you don't, because everything's controlled by the association. Now, Bob said we need 10% for 1A and 6A and 25% for 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A. And
Okay.
and if you looked at the numbers, and here's the thing, now they're basing classifications on free lunch. That's one of the criteria inside of free lunch. Trying to separate, I guess, city, county schools, money inside the school, whatever. I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
Let's see. What else here? Just a couple more comments, and then we got to wrap it up because I got to go to work.
Right.
Several representatives from the association spoke, including Q Tucker. She said she opposes the bill. Of course she does. Associate Commissioner Karen Dehart and Assistant Commissioner James Alverson read a letter from the Board of Directors, President Bobby Wilkins, Principal at Hendersonville, who also opposes the bill. Tucker said the association wants to work with State Board of Education on a formal memorandum of understanding, but without coercion, without political influence, so we can sit down together and make the changes that will benefit boys and girls from the mountains to the coast. I think the problem, Q, is that's what you haven't done, and that's why we're here. The memorandum of understanding between the association and the Board of Education would be in place by October 15th this year. Senator Gladys Robinson of Guilford asked Tucker if the timeline was realistic. Tucker said it would be tough. Then you go away, Q. You got to understand the state's serious about this.
Evidently, yeah. This momentum of this.
And then here's the other side. It would be, she said, not all senators. I'm sorry. Q also said, we do have bylaws, and our 427 member schools would need to be willing for us to set aside the bylaws that address the amended bill. Q, you're at a point to where the bylaws are not coming into play. I think what the state is saying, we're going to give oversight, but we're going to let the organizational framework stay in place. But here's your new bylaws.
Okay.
Does that seem like what it is to you?
Yeah, that's the way it looks. And I still think it gives the state association autonomy with a lot of these issues, but there's just that oversight from the State Board of Education, which I'm in favor of.
Athletic directors of Wake County Schools and Onslow spoke in opposition. There were things in the bill that they would support, particularly requiring a formal memorandum of understanding and providing more transparency. But he said many issues in the bill are already being addressed by the association. Where? Show me. I'm from Missouri. Yep. I don't see them. And athletic director at Green Level High School spoke in opposition of the bill. I've read through the text of the bill. I'm hard-pressed to find many aspects of the bill that put student athletes first. Although we've had our disagreement, we're a big family, the association puts student athletes first. Do they, in your opinion?
It's hard to answer. I think in many cases they have. I think the theme that comes out of all of this is just for more transparency, and to let the State Board of Education. You mentioned this memorandum of understanding that there would be an association there, and they would act as sort of a checks and balances. Is kind of the way I see it. I don't think the state association should have a problem with that.
Okay. 4 had a thought. Vance Dalton, good morning. 4 had a thought. Have a state conference where each school brings 2 representatives. Get in a very, very large and open room. Start hashing out what is needed instead of what we've already done. Look 10 to 20 years out and make the necessary changes now. 5 classifications and a Super 24, 30 largest schools. That's basically what South Carolina does.
Yeah.
And it's worked very good for what, a bazillion years?
Oh, yeah.
They got a top 16, if I remember correctly.
Top 16.
Keisha, good morning. Take all the politics out. Here's the thing. In my view, you've got the evils of the politics of being in state government.
Yep.
You've still got politics inside the association because it doesn't really change and adapt. You know, maybe the leadership in certain positions inside the association, like I talk about, need term limits. Inside the association, it's almost like a Supreme Court judge. Once you're appointed,
You're there for life.
you're there till you won't quit.
How does that work? I mean,
I don't know. The board hires them, I guess.
Yeah, the board of directors is made up of the educators and administrators.
Superintendents, athletic directors, and I think there's some coaches on there too.
Well, I'm sure they're in charge of extending the contracts of the full-time employees, right? I mean, I don't know. So that's something else that could be looked
How
at.
about this? How about you make it, you came from the college world,
Right.
okay? Community college, which is a state organization.
State organization.
My buddy Vance is chairman of the board at Catawba Valley Community College.
Mm-hmm.
Those boards usually have members that are appointed from the board, from the institution, the association, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the governments that supply funds to that institution.
That's right.
The Gaston County Commissioners place so many people on that board.
They do.
Catawba Valley County Commissioners, I think they place people on that board.
Yep.
Maybe it's a mix that we need. Instead of taking it all out of this hands and all out of this hand, maybe that's what we need to do.
Mm-hmm. So you, rather than educators being
The
board,
sole controllers.
you would bring in business concerns?
No,
or-
I would bring in, and that's not a bad idea, because we all know that government's not run like a business.
No, it's not.
But just have, instead of that state board of education control, maybe there's appointees inside the board to represent the state's interest. Maybe that's what it is.
Could be.
I think there's too many things you don't know about. I've never been wronged by the association, so I'm not
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
haven't
in
been
for
burned
blowing it
by
up.
them as a coach or any other way.
I've not always agreed with the direction they went, but
But don't you think the rank and file coaches that are out there, they don't want to see it completely blown up, even though they may have some problems?
I've got a saying for that, Mike, and then we'll go.
Okay.
You're always more comfortable dancing with the devil you know than the devil you
Definitely
don't.
Who said that? I love that quote.
There is somebody did.
Yeah,
Somebody did.
certainly.
Somebody did.
But there's wisdom in that.
That's
There is.
exactly what
Yeah.
it is. You're more afraid of the unknown, regardless of how much you don't like what you got. The unknown is
And
always.
and that could be the case with the rank and file coaches in the state. What if the legislature creates it, and then you got politics? It could be, something we don't want to deal with. We know what we got here, even though it's flawed. So.
Butch said the board is appointed on term limits. Yes, they are, but not your commissioner, Butch. Not your commissioner.
Not the top person. Yeah.
That's actually, I know they work for the board, but there again, those politics get involved, I think. Blake, good morning. Ronnie said, how does the association regulate private schools versus public schools? If you're a private school and you want to be in the association and will pay your money, I think they take you. But you got to follow the association rules. And that's
We don't have that many.
And that's what, there's 4, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Catholic.
So one of them, is it?
There's one in Raleigh. There's 4 of them. Anyway.
Raleigh Broughton? No, one of them in Raleigh, yeah.
But the other thing, Todd Wembley, good morning. The other thing that bothers me, and this is a whole different show, okay? A whole different show. One of the things the association needs to do from a standpoint of athletics is they need to have an overlying rule on transfers. Because each individual association, Catawba County, Lincoln County, Gaston County, can make their rules
School
on
district.
which student can transfer to school.
Yep.
That can lead, Cardinal Gibbons, thank you, Todd.
Cardinal Gibbons.
That can lead to an unfair advantage, and has always been the complaint about Charlotte Catholic because it can draw from anywhere.
Yeah. Well,
Charter schools do. Charter schools inside a county can draw from all schools inside that county.
they certainly can.
So, all right, I quit. I promise. Michael Powell will be back in the morning with the boys. I'll see you on Monday. Have a good one.
Have a